In my sternum videos, a lot of questions that I get are, when should I start training again? Well, my question to you is, why have you ever stopped training? What's going on, guys? Welcome to Barrookie. Today we're going to tackle the question, when should you start training again once you had an injury? Well, this counts for the sternum injury, but this is also something that you can use for other injuries as well. There is a main distinction that has to be made. There are injuries that happen because of a sudden event. Say, for example, you do deadlift and you slip and you sprain your ankle. That's something that caused suddenly, and then you should take a rest. But on the other hand, you also have things that have been building up over time, like elbow tendonitis or sternum pain. If you have the same as me, it builds up over time, so it won't go away just like that. And these type of injuries is what we want to tackle today. So a sternum injury, for example, happens because you have a bad posture, happens because your back gets stuck, and once you do exercises, they will end up hurting. But it's not the exercise that really causes the pain. The pain only flares up once you do exercises and once you get movement in that certain area. Now, how do we tackle this? Well, the first principle that I like to handle is never do an exercise that hurts, right? If an exercise hurts, stop doing it. For me, for example, with the sternum pain, if I did dips, it hurts, so I had to stop it. I did handstand, it hurts, stop doing handstands. If you're doing overhead press and it hurts, stop doing overhead presses. That's as simple as it can be. And in the example of sternum pain, does that mean that you can't work out? Does that mean that you can't do anything? No! If you're doing calisthenics, for example, you can still do pull-ups maybe, you can still do push-ups, you can still do front lever, you can do squats. There's a whole variety of exercise that you can still do, and there's only a small part that you cannot do. And take this as an opportunity to focus more on the other stuff. The same thing if you're doing weightlifting. Say you can't really do a bench press and you can't really do an overhead press. You can focus on the deadlift, focus on the squat, focus on rows, get a huge upper back and get going. Now, that means that you stop doing the exercises. But what I experienced also is that if you stop doing the exercise that hurt, they will never get better. So you have to look at a point where it doesn't hurt. Okay, what do I mean? Well, if you're doing push-ups, if a regular push-up hurts for you, try do push-ups on an elevated surface. If you find that that doesn't hurt, that's the baseline. That's where you can start and start to build up from there and get better and go back to regular push-up. If you're doing weightlifting, for me, the overhead press hurts like hell. Like if I did 40 kilos, it was already putting a lot of stress on my sternum. But if I went down to 8 kilos or to just the bar 20 kilos, it just wasn't there. So that allowed me to really focus on the movement, make sure that I do it pain-free, but also focus on how to get the injury going, how to get the injury healing, and at the same time reintroducing the movements again. So this one is very key, because otherwise you won't be able to heal and you won't be able to do these exercises again. A great example for me are the dips. I've stopped doing dips altogether and my sternum pain is gone. But if I would do dips again, I would have sternum pain because of the fact that I didn't really reintroduce that exercise, and the fact that my sternum is probably weak in that exercise. Because I can still do overhead press, I can still do bench press, but that particular exercise has not really healed for me because I haven't put any time in it to build that exercise up. So for me personally, dips hurt. Now already doing 3 dips, it already feels uncomfortable. So a way I can reintroduce dips is, for example, by using rubber bands. So I make the exercise as easy as possible so I can get into the range of motion without hurting myself, but still actively going into that motion, trying to do the exercise. So I could do something like this. Here I'm actually using the exact same muscles, but it hurts a lot less and it feels a lot more comfortable. So I can build up strength again in that area and then move up to maybe a lighter band and then another lighter band, and then maybe I can do dips again. So this is a great example of how you can implement this strategy. Keep in mind, however, that there is another factor that you need to consider. When you're reintroducing exercises, you also need to actively make sure that the injury goes away. So for the example of sternum pain, what I needed to do was make sure that my thoracic spine was moving again, that I got some mobility out of there, that I did less sitting throughout the day, that my ribs got loose again. All of that is also necessary next to your training part, and together you will be like normal again, like just before you had the injury. So the first thing that you should do is avoid any type of exercise that hurts. The second thing is focus on actively healing yourself from the injury, like for example with the posture and with the mobility. The third thing is reintroduce the exercises that used to cause problems. So start low. If you're doing overhead press, for example, if your maximum is 60 kilos and the bar weighs only 20 kilos, go even below that. Go to 8 kilos. Find the lowest weight possible and start from that. Reintroduce the exercise, build muscle, let your body adapt, and then slowly but steadily increase that weight again. And maybe you jump past your previous max. So that is my 2 cents. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Peace!